Howdy, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Jacob Vasquez, and I'm a product marketing lead at Front. We have an exciting session today about a new technology partnership between Front and Triumph. We've started by building an integration with Front and Triumph Intelligence that helps you deliver faster quotes and smarter rates in 2026. And this is just the beginning. We're continuing to improve the integration and exploring more ways to connect our platforms down the line. I'm joined by some stellar panelists, Rachel and Steve, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to Rachel for a quick introduction.
Stellar. I like it. I'll take it. Hey, everyone. My name is Rachel Backfish. I head up customer success at Triumph Intelligence. I was at Green Screens for about 3 years. Before that, helping to build out the product and the teams that are now known as Intelligence. Been in logistics about 5 years, was in tobacco before that. I have a passion for just helping customers solve problems, giving them the resources and tools they need to hit their goals, as well as just developing teams and people. And feel grateful that I've landed in this industry to do that with some pretty stellar people.
Thanks, Rachel. And I love the
Yeah.
customer-centric angle that you bring to the panel. Steve, will pass it over to you to tell us more about yourself and what you do at ATS.
Yeah, hi, it's Steve Ponder with ATS Logistics out of Cincinnati. We're currently celebrating our 46th anniversary. Uh,
Oh,
I am one of the strategy directors here at ATS, focusing on truckload, but then, hands in a lot of things with that title that's sort of vague, which means you get to do a lot of things. Um, Currently, I'm in my seventh year. Still feel new to the industry and just excited about things that just continue to change and
yeah.
get better.
It's not boring, that's for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, and happy anniversary to ATS. Thank y'all both for being here today. Really happy for the conversation that we're going to have. I want to start with an agenda, just so you all know what to expect from the session. We're going to start with the discussion on our 2026 outlook. So it's going to be what we're seeing in the market, how we expect 3PLs to focus on, or what we expect 3PLs to focus on next year. Then we'll give a quick introduction of Front and Triumph. Then we're going to share more about why we partnered and how it's going to benefit our mutual customers. And then finally going to give a live demo of the core Front platform and the new Triumph Intelligence integration. There's going to be some time at the end for Q&A. So as questions pop up throughout the webinar, please drop them in the Q&A box and we'll make sure to get to them. And with that, let's dive in. So starting with the 2026 outlook, if you jump to the next slide, quick lay of the land from our point of view, it's still a challenging freight market, but signs are pointing at a gradual recovery. I know that we've heard that before, so I'm crossing my fingers, not counting my chickens before they hatch, but you can kind of see from these headlines that we have some momentum going into the new year and hoping this continues. Rachel, you have this wealth of information at Triumph ranging from payment data, factoring, intelligence. Would love
Mhm.
to hear what your outlook is on the freight market for this first half of the year and any trends that you're seeing in that data.
Yeah. First, yeah, thank you. I'd say first off, no one has a crystal ball. I know we all wish we would. But just, when talking to either our internal data experts or most importantly, our customers, I would say the consensus on the outlook or the sentiment is somewhere between like, hey, we've settled in, this is the market, kind of like swallowing that this is the new reality, to cautiously optimistic. I think cautiously optimistic is how I would describe a lot of folks are feeling right now. But certainly no one's claiming RIP to the Great Freight Recession, although we'd love to. And one thing I do want to call out, so you said it, in 2025, there was a lot of optimism, right? Shared. And then reality was very different. It was kind of more of the same. So I would say conversations we have with customers are about, success today doesn't necessarily hinge on knowing exactly what's going to happen in 6 months or a year. Hinges more on the broker's ability to strategically agile, or being prepared for when there is a shift, whether it's short term or long term. And what we see successful brokers do, and what I do see a lot of brokers focusing on in 2026, it's continuation of 25, is making sure they have the right tech stack to be prepared for whatever comes next. So gone are the days of like throwing, different tools at the wall and having multiple tools that do the same thing. But we see more of a focus on having the right tools. So tech budgets aren't growing. So do I have the right tool from a rating product standpoint, on the capacity side, automation tools to set my team up for success. We were talking before we started about the winter storm that's coming. Fern, I think, is what we're calling her now. That's a perfect example of no one knows exactly what's going to happen. But if your team is set up, right, we did see huge spikes in spot rates in the big storm, winter storm of 2021. If your team is set up with the right tech and operational processes, they can better capitalize on that potentially short-term shift or spike. So, and then the last thing I'll do, little call out for Triumph. I do want to mention that we're going to be putting more out there in the way of consistent real-time market updates on LinkedIn and other forums. Like you said, we have this awesome, network of data. So when we see a shift, not a blurb, but a shift, we'll definitely be putting it out there. So be on the lookout for that.
And that's a great point about just having the right foundations, both process and
Mhm.
technology, to be able to operate in whatever market and whatever conditions they throw at us. Steve, would
Yep.
kind of love to hear from someone who's living this every day. What is your outlook on 2026 and how is ATS planning to operate?
Yeah, we saw some very unusual spikes right at the end of the year. The time you walk in and, things jump 20% in a day, which I think I can count on one hand the times I've seen that. Like, I could probably tell you the dates. Um, you know, which that just happens. We're kind of thinking we maybe have hit a plateau. But I wouldn't be shocked just because there are some, unusual things happening in the world that are, creating some, I would say, more unnatural or instantaneous fluctuations in the market. And as you guys have touched on as well, our thought is always, every market is a challenge. If it's super flat and super cheap, it's tough on our sales because people aren't going to move when they're not experiencing prices going up, or trucks not showing up. When it's spiking up and down, it's a challenge for our ops team. So we, again, try to have tools in place that can handle all of that. We're not just stuck in one type of market. So, as those challenges change, we just try to have things in place that we're able to still be successful. We hired when the market was terrible,
Hmm.
sales reps, like hoping, just being prepared for when it changed, that we weren't then it didn't take us 6 months to hire people. So we try
Yep.
to stay ahead, and the tools that I try to make our team better every day with something, an automation, or in that way we're just ready for whatever.
Yep.
Definitely. Great point. Sounds like a theme of some cautious optimism. Maybe we plateaued, but we're going to stay agile and have strong processes and strong foundations. That moves me to the next slide. I want to get into another key outlook, and that's how 3PLs are planning to operate. Based on conversations we've had with our customers, talking with our partners, what we've seen in the industry, a few key technology priorities are top of mind for those foundations. First, we're seeing 3PLs looking for connected systems that actually talk to each other, moving beyond the TMS, the inbox, carrier identity, all being different silos, and moving towards the sharing of data so that you have this more solid foundation for AI and logistics. Next up, agentic automation. This was a hot topic last year and it will continue to be a hot topic this year. Agentic AI is when AI goes beyond just responding and generating that text response, but it's actually taking action and running your business. We see 3PLs looking to make workflows more agentic, but still keeping humans in the loop when judgment's needed. And then finally, 3PLs are prioritizing intelligent data. There's kind of that age-old saying of garbage in, garbage out. And so folks are looking for smarter data, not just backward benchmarks, but that blend of real time and historical to kind of make the best decisions. Steve, I know that you're always tinkering and innovating, and so would love to kind of hear what's top of mind in these tech priorities for ATS and any specific examples of processes or systems that you're working on.
Yeah, right now we are trying to adjust from like just having the rates in front of us and choosing a rate and then checking to make sure our team, is trying to pick the right rate and going into more of market comparisons and trying to make sure that Um, if we're not winning loads in certain areas, then we're able to, help pinpoint that by seeing what the market rate is compared to what we have been quoting, or maybe have customers that are driving a rate because of variables in their shipments that maybe we should ignore for others, and just making sure that we're seeing both sets of rates coming from the tool, for example, um, and using that information. Our team does a great job. We know what we're going to pay approximately. So just kind of taking a next step and taking a deeper dive into market rates, really, I guess would be our biggest focus.
Definitely. And Rachel, I know that you live and breathe the data piece of this. So anything that you're hearing from your customers that you kind of want to add on either the data side, but then also how it ends up connecting with other tools?
Yeah, I mean, on the data side, I think the important distinction is you can have a lot of data, but what are you doing with it, right? So in our case, we're not just telling our brokers, hey, this is what you have paid for, this lane in the last couple weeks. We're saying we're applying predictive models, and we're saying this is what the cost is today. So it's what you do with the data, both on the predictive and modeling side, as well as assessing performance. I think you alluded to this earlier, Steve, like how am I buying versus the market? Where can I direct my sales team, on lanes that we do really well on, go out and get more of that business, or my ops team, carrier team, making sure they understand where they're buying over the market and encouraging them to negotiate with carriers. So it's like it's about having the data, but it's what you do with it and how you're able to apply it strategically to your business that matters the most. And then on the connected systems front, for sure, our customers have we've been very partner centric since the creation of our product, because it makes no sense to be a standalone these days. You've really got to embrace other tech companies out there to give less swivel chair, if you will, to brokers. And our customers are really grateful for that. And that'll always be kind of at the foundation of our core values is partnering with great companies like Front to
Definitely.
help to help our customers.
That's something that Steve and I talk about all the time is now one of the first questions is what systems do you connect with when you're
Yep.
evaluating new technology? It can be a great
Yep.
tool, but if it doesn't work with other people, folks are not interested in using it.
Yeah. We've even partnered with competitors, right? Because if it makes sense for our customers, do it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then jump into the next slide. This is the last outlook. It's getting a bit more tactical, but with some of the cautious optimism around the market, a final outlook for 2026 is that we see 3PLs focusing more intently on how to improve their quoting processes. And we've seen data that being the first qualified quote, so you're first and you gave them a competitive rate, makes you twice as likely to win the load. So there's tons of revenue opportunity in getting this right, and we expect 3PLs to be looking at solutions to kind of turn the dials up on how do I quote faster and how do I get smarter rates. So they'll be looking at tools to better manage communication. Outlook and Gmail is not going to cut it anymore. And then also looking for higher quality rate data just from compared to generic rates. So things that are more up to date. And like you mentioned, Rachel, things that have rate predictions. These are
Mhm.
two areas that we've been focused on as Front and Triumph. And so now I want to give a brief overview on kind of each of the platforms, how we solve for each of these, how we work together. And then again, going to get to that live demo of the integration to show how we work together. So jumping forward to the front overview. Next slide. I'll start with a quick overview of Front. Front is an AI-powered workspace to manage freight communication, and we're really looking to solve all of the Outlook and Gmail problems that hinder productivity and make it harder to deliver great service to your shippers and your carriers. And there's really two big problems that we solve for. The first one is message volume. We hear all the time about brokers who have hundreds of distro groups. They're juggling shared inboxes, text, emails, phone calls. And what this does is it means you end up double quoting, missing messages, giving slower responses. Ultimately, that means worse service for your shippers and carriers. The second big inbox challenge that we're trying to solve for is that your inbox doesn't connect to anything. So folks end up having to, like Rachel said, swivel chair between systems. And then when you're building automation, you can't really have these fully automated workflows of when something hits the inbox, run this process, or when you send off an email, run this process, because all of that data is trapped inside. So Front's looking to solve both of those problems. We bring all your communication, emails, text, WhatsApp into a single platform. Also bring all your data from the TMS, carrier identity, rating systems, and then we let you build powerful workflows with AI automation using that data so you can streamline your freight processes. Also got a ton of productivity features to help your team work faster, and then also have analytics so that you can measure performance of your team, AI, and the system as a whole. Steve, y'all have been a long time customer. I think it's going on 5 years. So would love to kind of hear about your journey with Front and sort of where you started and where you're going. I know you've built some of the coolest workflows I've seen, so would love to hear about it for the audience.
It's really funny to think back. Like we thought it was just so cool to be able to assign an email to ourselves. I, and we have 1,000 emails a day. There were 300 that was for my team. I probably saw another 200 because when things escalated, I sort of had my eyes on it and dragging them across the
Mhm.
screen. And when we were able to switch to front like that, it was like we're good. Like it's awesome. And then now the things we're doing which we had no idea that we could do. It's kind of a central hub for us. Like Jacob said, when we look to partner with someone, I'm always like, open API, can I get to you? Can I bring it in? I
Yeah.
mean, we're building quotes from our email. We're vetting carriers live with Highway. We're now able to see the green screens UI. We're updating things in our TMS. Truly, like interacting with. I know that might be the same thing as the integration, but we can, we're changing things in both areas. I've got workflow in Thai that I send from Thai to front, back to Thai because I can't quite get it to work in Thai the way I need it to. So I'm bouncing things off and I still feel like there's so much that we don't use just because um, you know, our company's needs and the type of service. But I see all these other things that, man, if I worked at this kind of company, I bet I would use that tool in front. So it's really just amazing. We're excited to add this new
It's a
plugin
good,
as
it's a
well
good
for us.
call out. Not all brokers are created equal in terms of the tools you use or even how you use the tool, the same tool based on your kind of business mix.
Yes.
I also love the story of not having to tackle it all at once. There was huge
Mhm.
value in just getting the right email to the right person. That saved a lot of money and time, but then over time you have just built more and more automation on top of it. So kind of that crawl, walk, run approach is a good way to think about software. It can be a little bit overwhelming if you try to get all the way to running, but just get some things stood up and start optimizing those different micro actions to make them take less time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
always say it. I had no idea how to use API 2 years
yeah.
ago. I had no, and then just sort of learned some things you could do, and took it from there. So you don't have to be a big tech whiz to make all this work either.
Yeah, and if folks aren't familiar with API, it's the protocol to make solutions talk to each other. So Front can talk to Triumph using API. So if you have an open API, it makes it easy to talk to tools like Front. And then Rachel, I'd love to hand it over to you to give us an overview of Triumph.
Yeah, I'll do that. But first, I did wanted to call out the importance of customers, or I should say partners, people like Steve, for companies like ours, Jacob. Steve, you've been with us since almost the beginning, and you have helped us develop the product along the way, not in a like selfish, I need this for my business, but hey, this would be good. It would be good if your system could do this. And just the time that you have spent with our product teams, and I know on the front side as well, that's the kind of partnerships that help us all become better. I just want to call that out.
Huge, huge plus one.
Yeah, totally. So I'll introduce Triumph. Of course, Triumph does a lot of things. I'll focus on intelligence here, but well, I'll of course call out, intelligence, payments, audit, factoring. The Triumph name, I think, is pretty very well known and respected and trusted in the market. So we were super glad to join the Triumph family. But on the intelligence side and really across the Triumph products, we're really proud to say that we have the largest freight transaction network in North America, and our data covers 65% of all brokered freight. And so I talked earlier about having a lot of data. That's good. But most importantly, what are we doing with that data? If I could summarize it, and I actually did this it was like the head of supply chain at MIT at Manifest a couple years ago. He was like glossing over when I was talking about AI and machine learning. And I just said, you know what? We do a lot of really cool things with data. That's how I would summarize what we do to help our customers, win more freight at higher margins, more profitably. We're first focused on pricing, so we provide the most accurate truck cost predictions for the spot market, van, reefer, flatbed, and we actually just announced or released flatbed hotshot modeling. And what makes us unique and allows me to say that we have the most accurate predictions, we train a unique model for each of our brokers that's really based on their buying power in the market. And then, of course, supported by that network of data, the 65% of brokered freight. So our brokers have 24/7 access to their own verified buy rate, so their model, as well as a market rate, which really answers, how's the market buying right now. And then I'll just mention a few other things. We're also focused on capacity and performance, so giving brokers real-time data that helps them to secure the right capacity, either through partners or products that we're building. And then we have a lot of products that help brokers understand things like how am I performing versus the market? Where am I buying versus the market? Sales insights to see where I might need to shift my quoting strategy to win more or less, quite frankly, of the business you don't want. And then we have a long-term pricing tool as well that predicts, out 6, 12 months for RFPs. So quick overview, but that is Triumph Intelligence.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
Steve, anything that you wanted to add? I know that you mentioned that rate data was a priority for you this year, and you've been a longtime user of green screens, now Triumph Intelligence as well.
Yeah, we're just excited to have it, all right in front of us, and have have the UI right there with the email. That way, we're able to look and see if there are any outliers in the email that might affect the rate, and have that all there right in front of us is really exciting. We Sean Johnston and I tried to kind of create a homemade version of
Yeah.
this about a year and a half ago, and neither of us knew what we were doing with API, but we knew what we wanted as an end result. Actually got Jake, who you'll see in a few, actually helped us kind of make it work, but just wasn't pretty enough to really use. So we're excited to have it all right there. In a way, I talked about like seeing the market information and maybe seeing if you have an account that's driving the rate. You can see that in the UI right while you're in the email. Also, trying to see if there's a overdimensional load that the customer didn't call out, but now you have more time to spend on focusing on the rates and the load information instead of trying to piece it all together in four screens.
Definitely. And you set up this next slide perfectly, Steve. We didn't even plan that. But this partnership, like you mentioned, it's been in the works for a while. And if we can jump to the next slide. The partnership that has been in the works for a while, and it's exciting because it just makes a ton of sense. Front is making shipper and carrier communication more efficient, helping people quote faster. Triumph is providing that leading rate data so folks are getting more competitive rates. Together, we're helping 3PLs improve efficiency, increase rate quality, and ultimately get that more freight, better margins outcome. So, Steve, you were one of the first, but we've had a lot of mutual customers using both the platforms independently, asking for our tools to work together. So excited to be able to deliver this integration. And we've done a lot of talking about it, but now going to jump into a live demo so you can see it all in action. I'm going to invite Jake from the Front team on stage, and he'll show you both Front and then also the new Front and Triumph integration.
Not Jake from State Farm, Jake from Front.
Jake from front.
Thank you, Jacob. And like he said, my name is Jake, and I'm a solutions architect here at Front, and I've been leading the development of this integration with Triumph. So I'm really excited to share it with you all today. My plan over the next 10 minutes is to give a high-level overview of who Front is, how we help businesses like yours, and then obviously show you a tour of our new integration. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and jump in. So what you are looking at now is the front interface in a web browser. And as Jacob mentioned, we are an AI-powered customer communication platform that enables logistics companies to really streamline their shipper and carrier processes at scale. So Front may look and feel a lot like Outlook or Gmail here, but there are a number of critical differences. We have powerful automation, native AI, team collaboration, and analytics all within your inbox. And so it's really everything a logistics company needs from a communication standpoint to stay competitive in today's market. And let me give you a tour of what you're looking at visually here. So on the left side, you'll see our workspaces. On the top left is what we call your personal workspace. And this is where end users can see all the communication that is relevant to them in one place. And this can be omni-channel across email, SMS, phone chat, or any other channels you connect into Front. And it's also where you can manage any personal communication, like your individual work email, such as jake@front.com. Below that is the team section. And this is where we're going to fix what I like to call the distribution list chaos problem. And you all probably know this problem. It's when you have a lot of distribution lists or shared inboxes, and everyone is on every distribution list. And so that's how you end up with 10,000 emails in your inbox. With Front, we consolidate the duplicate copies into one email that lives in a shared workspace that can be collaborated on. You can use AI, you can bring in external data with our integrations, and then ultimately measure key metrics. So to the right is where we can see all the conversations in the inbox we're currently viewing. So right now we're in the operations inbox. And you'll notice that rather than using unread versus read to distinguish when a conversation needs action, which can lead to conversations slipping through the cracks, we actually automatically categorize every conversation by status automatically. And that'll help you know what needs action now and who is responsible for the next step. We can also set reply time or resolution time goals on conversations, as well as tag conversations automatically or via rules to help you make sure conversations are getting to the right team members and to ultimately track metrics on these conversations. Moving over to the right again, this is where we'll see the content of the conversation we're currently viewing. You can see we can bring in external data from tools like a TMS or even Highway here. And then we can also assign conversations to specific team members, both manually or via rules, to make it clear who should respond next. So in this case, I will assign the conversation to myself, which is going to move it into the assigned section of this inbox, and also make it appear in the assigned to me section of my personal workspace. Now, at the bottom of the conversation is where we can collaborate internally. But before I do that, let's also look at how we can use AI to understand the context of this conversation more easily. So we use AI throughout our product to help you be more efficient. One of the ways we do that is by helping you understand the summary of a conversation easily. So if I click on this summary here at the top of the conversation, it's going to open up a panel which will show me both the high-level summary of the whole conversation, as well as message by message summaries of all the messages throughout the conversation. And in addition to that, it'll link me to any similar conversations we've answered in the past, or any relevant knowledge-based articles or external sources. So like I mentioned, at the bottom of this conversation is where we can actually have an internal collaboration on this email. And what that's going to do is it's going to save you from having to go into Teams or Slack to discuss this email, or of course have to send an email about an email, which is obviously not ideal. So for example, if I want to loop Jacob into this message, it's as simple as commenting at Jacob, can you review this draft I'm about to create? And as you can see, Jacob has been added as a participant on this conversation. And the conversation will also now appear in Jacob's subscribe section in his personal workspace. So now I'm going to click reply here, and I will actually use a message template that's going to leverage data from an external system, the TMS in this case, to get back to this customer. And ultimately, once we're happy with this draft, and this is a shared draft that we can collaborate on, we can resolve this inquiry and send this back to the customer. Now, the last thing to call out in terms of the interface is the far right here, where you can see the both native and external integrations that we support, which now includes Triumph Intelligence. And that's a great segue into what I'm going to discuss next, obviously, which is the Triumph integration. And with the new integration, you can get the smart rates from Triumph directly in your inbox, which is going to help you quote faster and win more. So in this example, you can see Jessica from Pair Computers has reached out to our team for a quote on a shipment from Elizabeth, New Jersey to Boston, Mass. So let's open up the integration and generate a smart rate to get back to her. And as you will see, the integration is going to autofill with all the data directly from this conversation, such as the origin here and the destination. So in this case, the only thing that we need to change manually is adjusting the pickup time to be noon tomorrow. If there is additional information we need to pass along to Triumph, we can do that here as well with the customer name, the delivery date, and commodity and weight information. But ultimately, all we need to do is click the Get Rate button here. And that's going to bring in all the smart rate information from Triumph directly into our inbox. And namely, that's going to include data like the verified buy rate here alongside a confidence level, verified sell rate with a markup percentage, which is editable, and then lane data for this shipment. So market data for this specific lane, capacity on tap via the number of capacity integrations available on the Triumph platform, negotiation coach data, short-term history, as well as long-term history for this lane, and then also any recent bids or quotes we've given out for this lane. But ultimately, what we can do is just click the Create Draft button here. And what that's going to do is create a draft in this conversation, which will leverage both information from the front conversation, such as the recipient's name here, Jessica, as well as data from Triumph, such as the verified sell rate here. And if we want to change the template that's used to create the draft, we can just go into our settings here and adjust the template. And each user can have their own template that they customize in the way that works best. Again, we can leverage information from both Triumph or Front as variables in our template, such as the recipient or sender's name, as well as the buy rate, sell rate, or any other information from Triumph. Now, ultimately, once we're happy with this email, we can send and snooze this conversation, which will automatically reopen it in my inbox later today to ensure that I'm staying on top of this quote request alongside all the other communication I'm handling in Front. So I will send and snooze this conversation for later today.
And Jake, I do want to call out too on the template. We successfully have created a format now. We're able to send that email, which builds the quote for us in our TMS. So click, I'm capturing the customer name in the email already. So because of the structure of the template, when we hit send, it creates the quote for us in our TMS. So I think that's just another way that connect one partner to another. Which you didn't even intend, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, how can I use this to, you know, to replace us having to use the macro? So we're excited to see where that can go as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for the call out there, Steve. And I also wanted to mention, if you are currently a Front and Tribe customer and you want to use the integration, please reach out to proserve at frontapp.com. That's PROSERVE at frontapp.com. And we'd be happy to help you trial the tool. So yeah, that's all from me. But I'll pass it back to you, Jacob.
Definitely. And plus one on that, Jake has been working with 10 or so customers that have been testing and providing feedback on the integration. So would love to get you in there as well if you're a customer of both tools already to start using it, give us some feedback so we can continue to improve the product. And then solid demo, Jake. It was super clear how having that message automatically assigned to someone, getting your rate directly in the inbox, sending a reply, and then in Steve's case, that building a quote is just a huge time saver and going to help people deliver on that process of faster quotes and smarter rates. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'd like to get into the Q&A portion of the webinar. So this is the last call. If you have any questions, please drop them in. And it looks like we've already got a couple submitted. One question, it's will the recording be available? And so yes, this will be available. We'll be sending it out an email afterwards with the full recording that you'll be able to reference. Seeing another question on, is this included in our subscription cost for Front and Triumph Intelligence? Right now, it's in a beta phase, and so it's available free in beta, and we're planning to have a small add-on charge for the integration once it goes to general availability. Another question that I'm seeing. This one looks like it's for Rachel, and it's a question on if you can share more about the AI model for. Oh, it looks like you actually already dropped that in, but if you want to give any
Yeah.
voiceover for the audience around the AI model used to calculate the rate averages.
Yeah, I mean, so the key difference between the market rates and the market models is that that's taking into account all of our broker customers. So you should use that rate to indicate where the market is buying at today. And I would say it's not just historic averages, it's what we expect the rate to be at today, over the next couple of days. The verified buy rate is specific to each brokerage. So that's where you'll see some differences based on how you're buying, your buying power in the market versus the general market. And I would encourage anonymous attendee, please email me rbackfish@tfin.com. I'd love to connect you to your customer success manager to just dig in on what you're seeing and how we can help. Yep.
And then I see another question that says, not yet using Front, but interested in testing. Uh, in order to get a Front account, you could just go to front.com and you can hit get started. And once you're in a trial, you'll be able to try Front the platform with the Triumph Intelligence integration by contacting that email that Jake provided, proserve@frontapp.com. Seeing another question about, do IT development teams have to pay for API access? And with Front, on the Front side, we have open API access that's not at an additional charge. Rachel, what about y'all from the Triumph side?
No, one of the key differences between us and other uh, rating platforms is that we have unlimited API and unlimited seats. We price based on revenue. So, we hope to help our customers grow, and as you grow, we'll grow with you.
Yeah, and if your TMS is charging that much, you may want to look elsewhere. Just saying.
Definitely. This goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of we want to make it easy to connect. So we're trying to lower the barrier of entry of tools being able to talk to each other.
Yeah.
For a, we have a question on does Triumph have market rates just for domestic US or also cross-border like US, Canada, and Mexico, US?
Great question. Yeah, North America. So we cover US and Canada freight. At this point, we don't provide cross-border Mexico predictions. We'd love to. We need to, collect even more data. So if you have a plethora of data you'd like to share with us so that we can start modeling that, hit me up. But yeah, right now, US and Canada.
And then this one I think is a Triumph question. Are you able to manage multiple cost and vendor components in a single quote email?
I think that might be more like for you.
Oh,
Would you be able to like integrate Triumph Intelligence plus another rating platform? That's how I'm reading it, but could be wrong.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you just have to build it out.
Yeah.
and
I
then
the one from Brooke about can it send a quote automatically? I would say right now, no, just from using it, but um, that could be something that they have in mind down the road. But
All the questions. I love it.
And then I'll repeat this just because it came in again as a question that you can contact ProServe at frontapp.com, and it's ProServe without the E. And it's a very easy setup. Actually, Steve, if you want to maybe talk to what the setup looked like, Jake just flips it on, guides you through a quick walkthrough so you're comfortable using it, and then lets you live.
yeah, I think I had to relay a API key. Just we were on the screen together for 2 minutes and everything got set up. It was very simple.
And then I see one question around the pricing for the plugin. There's been some preliminary pricing explored. There's to learn more, definitely recommend talking to someone on our sales team, and we can potentially get more flexible. Again, it's in beta, and we're still finalizing what the list price will be. And that's not for general API access to the front platform. It's for the full plugin that works in the side panel. And I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing. Appreciate everyone's engagement. Again, we will be sending out the recording. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Steve, for joining me. Did you want to share any parting words?
I mean, let's just keep locking arms and, working together. I think that is very important in current times and really all times. At the end of the day, we really got to pull together to just help each other out. I know that's super corny, but
No, yeah, and I encourage people. I think it was talked about at the start. Find partners that are willing to, adapt and let you direct some things, and can work within the system that you're trying to create, and not be stuck
yeah,
only in theirs.
yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank y'all for joining and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Jacob. Thanks,
Yep.
Steve.
Thanks,
See you
y'all.
soon.
Thanks, see you guys.
Bye, y'all.